I like to look at this one as one of the most significant pieces, which is very aligned to attract. Because what we're doing in the repel phase is we're really, again, ensuring that we're being very authentic and congruent in building our employee message, in building our employment brand, and carrying that message out through our career page, our employment brand, and even some of the social media that we've taken on. And there's some great examples of organizations out there that really are kind of crystal clear about who they are and who they are not. I love the story about Intel, the company Intel. And when Andy Grove was the first CEO at Intel, he made a very bold statement. And he said, if you don't like conflict, don't come to work here. And that was kind of like a head turner. What do you mean? And it wasn't, if you're conflict averse, you're never going to fit. But what Andy Grove felt was that if you feel comfortable enough with challenging your fellow employees, if you feel comfortable enough with standing up and saying something in a meeting with all the C-suite to see, you were the right fit for Intel. Because he believed that that breeds creativity and innovation. And if we're not challenging each other, then we're not being creative. So here's a great example of a company being crystal clear and stating what it is and who they are. Another great example is Zappos. Zappos is quickly beating out Southwest, who used to be the coolest and hippest, fast, fun, friendly company to work for. But now you see Zappos, they're right out at YouTube. They've got probably 20, 30 videos on YouTube of who they are, their appreciation parties, their 3 employees that go around and sing happy birthday for and you pay them $5 and they go and give that to a charity, and the zaniness that lives within those walls. Now again, that's their culture. Not every organization feels comfortable with 10 or 12 people 3 times a day coming through and taking a tour of their customer service area. But Zappos goes a little further too, about Repel. You're going to become a Zapponian, and if you don't want to be a Zapponian, then you don't fit at Zappos. So it's just interesting to see how culturally, we create this persona in an organization. I was working at the Mayo Clinic. I did a 9-month project there, and it was really interesting because I would walk around and, my whole point of view is like I'm always looking at the cultural aspect of the organization. And I would ask an employee, hey, what's the mission of this organization? And they would look me in the eye and they would say, I'm paraphrasing, the needs of the patient are the only needs to be considered. And I'd be like, wow, that was pretty cool. I'd go and I'd ask an environmental service tech cleaning the room, hey, what's the mission of this organization? And they'd say, the needs of the patient are the only needs to be considered. And I was like, wow, man, they didn't even turn over their badge. They didn't have to look at anything. They didn't have to look on the plaque on the conference room wall. But you see, that's what Mayo is. They are so exacting about who they are and who they are not, that if you don't believe in that mantra, then you just don't fit. Built to Last is a great book, and I use it as an example quite a bit, the Built to Last book. And people will say, hey, you know what? That was written in 1999, Liz. It's kind of stale by now. And I say, no. You really need to read that because there's 7 years of research that went into Built to Last talking about how organizations are built to last. And a lot of this is around a cult-like culture, very Mayo Clinic-y, the mantra, the culture, the cult. But it really does create an esprit de corps. And if you don't have that, or you're not clear enough, then you're not repelling the employees fast enough. We're seeing an interesting trend, and talk about Repel. There's a trend where I go onto your site to apply. I go onto your career site, and I look at the jobs, but I can't get to the jobs because there's kind of like this gatekeeper page that's up. And what it is it's your values, listing the organizational values, mission, vision, and then saying, and it's not just a list of words, don't get me wrong. It's your values that have been defined in behavioral terms, which that's the only way it allows you to, use tools like job builders and appraisal builders, because it has to really be a living, breathing opportunity. So these organizations are putting their values that have been defined in behavioral terms up on their website and listing them and asking you to read them. And if you read them at the end, it basically says, if you agree to these values, please continue. We'd love to talk to you about potential employment. If you do not agree with these values and feel your personal values are not aligned to them, thank you very much for visiting, but we don't believe that you would be a good fit. Now, that to me is brilliant.